Okay, folks, so last time we left off a little bit into chapter 4.2 of your textbook, talking about supply and demand, and now we're at the factors that can cause a change in demand. And so there's 6 factors that can cause a change in demand. The first one is income. If overall income goes up or down, that will change people's buying power, which changes the overall demand for products on the market. The next one is market size. And then this has to do with the size of the population or the size of the market in any given area. And so, for example, an area that relies heavily on seasonal tourism, Vermont could be an example of this, is when people go to an area a particular time of year for a certain reason, that market size vastly increases as opposed to other times of the year where the market size is smaller because there are fewer people there to buy the goods. And then the next one is consumer tastes. Now, consumer tastes have a tendency to change very rapidly. Whatever is in for a particular season or a particular year that's what impacts the market. And advertising has a lot to do with changing consumer tastes. And then the next factor is consumer expectations. Now, consumers might expect or think that the price of a good or a service will change, and so that expectation will impact their buying habits. For example, if consumers are expecting an annual sale, they will wait until that sale happens before purchasing the product because that's their consumer expectation. And then the next thing is substitute goods. If there's a substitute good available that is cheaper than an alternative good, people tend to go for the substitute good. Because substitute goods are essentially interchangeable and it doesn't cause people inconvenience to change from one to another, then people generally choose to go with one good or service rather than another when the price changes. And then we have complementary goods. And complementary goods are goods that go together with one another. For example, if the number of CDs that are being sold rises, you could expect the number of CD players to also rise. They are complementary goods, and so they go together. And then we have things called normal and inferior goods. Normal good is something that consumers demand more of when their incomes rise. People will go towards more name brand things, higher quality items that they wouldn't be able to buy if their income was lower. And then we have inferior goods, which are goods that consumers demand less of when their incomes rise. For example, if you're used to shopping at discount stores for all of your clothing, that could be considered an inferior good because when your income rises, you would tend to go towards more name brand items. And then we have a few different factors that affect consumer tastes. And so 2 big things that impact consumer tastes are trends and advertising. And that goes along with consumer expectations. For example, with a new model of an iPhone, do you buy it right away as soon as it comes out, or do you wait until later in case the price maybe goes down or there's some sort of deal available? And then, of course, we have, again, substitute goods and services that can be used in place of each other. So if 2 things are functionally the same, you might go for the cheaper one unless maybe there's a lot of prestige or something associated with the name brand. But generally people will go for the cheaper substitute good. And then, of course, we are back to complementary goods. Again, goods that are used together, so a rise in demand for one increases the demand for the other. Things like milk and cereal. Other things that go together such as video games and game consoles, or smartphones and smartphone apps. Things that as the demand for one goes up, the demand for the other tends to go up as well. And that's all we have for this section. In the next video we'll be talking a little bit more about things that affect demand. But thanks for listening along, and don't forget to take the quiz below this video.